Hello aspirants and welcome again to Legacy IAS Academy. In this lecture, we will be discussing about India's outreach to Taliban and subsequent to which there has been a Chinese reaction, not directly against India, but China is also now looking to, let's say, have more of an influence in Taliban. So they also have their diplomatic counter move after India's move. So we will see what has been India's policy, what is India doing right now, and where is India's focus when it comes to Afghanistan, and subsequently what was the response of China and how the geopolitics is taking place in this region. So what is the news all about? What has happened is India's first high-level contact with Taliban has been established recently, wherein our Honorable External Affairs Minister, Mr. Jayanagara, he met the Taliban's acting finance minister, right? So presently in Afghanistan, you have the government of Taliban, which we know is or you can say now it's a form of a government over there, is a terrorist organization. So now they are ruling Afghanistan and they have their own acting finance minister. Now, why is this important to mention? Because India always wanted to deal with a democratically elected government. India does not want the terrorist ruling the country, etc. Afghanistan, for example. So at times we had delayed taking any action. So that led to inaction from our side. But in that sense, what will happen? The other nations, especially our neighboring nations, which has animosity towards us, will gain ground. So finally, what we have done is we have now taken a big step. It is a big step because this high-level official contact that has been established, it has been established with Afghanistan for the first time since August 2021. So it's close to 4 years that we have established such a high level of contact with Afghanistan. So herein, our external affairs ministers had met Taliban's acting finance minister. Now, in this meeting, India, of course, indicated this particular step indicates India's policy shift from silent engagement or inaction to, of course, structured and strategic diplomacy. Now, this meeting that has happened, with respect to this, India focused on what? India's focus was on humanitarian aid to Afghanistan, of course, trade, regional security, and strategic projects. So this is strategic projects. This is what was all discussed and all about, right? Now, once India did this, what has happened is we have seen a response from China. So what China has done as a counter move is China hosted an informal talk between Pakistan and Taliban-led Afghanistan. So here, China did not come in between. China hosted a talk. So it played host to the talk between Afghanistan and Pakistan. So Afghanistan and Pakistan were basically talking, discussing, meeting in front of China is what has happened over here. What was the objective here? Objective was to restore the diplomatic ties, enhance trade, and the most important thing, counter India's growing influence. So here also Pakistan is involved, China is using Pakistan, Pakistan keeps on using China. So that is what happens to counter India. These states use each other to counter India, and that is exactly what has happened over here as well. Now, what has been the outcome of the China-Pak-Afghanistan meet? Remember, the meeting was between this, but China was the host, so as good as they are also existing over here. So it's as good as a trilateral meet of these three nations. So the outcome of this has been a principal agreement for exchange of ambassadors between Pakistan and Afghanistan. That means Pakistan's ambassador will be there in Afghanistan and vice versa. Also, talks of expanding trade, transit, and diplomatic cooperation was also discussed. China also reinforced its role of a regional stabilizer and a power broker. Why is that the case? Because Afghanistan and Pakistan are also at loggerhead. So here it is as good as China is brokering peace over here and playing a powerful broker between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Why is that required? Because the relation of Afghanistan and Pakistan are also strained. So if you look at the strained relation between the two since December 2024, airstrikes, it has gone worse. So there have been airstrikes in Paktika wherein more than 50 people were dead, as a result of which the relations are quite tense. Now, Pakistan, after this attack, Pakistan claimed that Pakistan claims anti-terror operation. So whenever it has retaliated in Afghanistan, it has against Afghanistan, it has simply said we are taking anti-terrorist action. We are not attacking Afghanistan, its civilians or military. This is an anti-terror action. Now that's the irony of Pakistan, to say that they are taking anti-terror actions, but fair enough, they are taking it, is what they are saying. Afghanistan has denounced the attacks subsequently. Now the ongoing issue that is there is the refugee deportation. So who is deporting refugees? It's Pakistan. It is Pakistan who is deporting the refugees, even though their countrymen are saying, okay, Pakistan, please stop doing this, we are better than this, but still Pakistan is deporting Afghanistan refugees. And of course, the terror safe haven allegations. Now, to be very true here, Pakistan, of course, we know is a safe terror haven. Same is the case with Afghanistan, right? So you may get confused who is blaming whom over here. So what is happening over here is both the countries are blaming each other for being a safe haven of terrorism, not knowing that in Afghanistan you have the Taliban-led government, which itself, right, are basically having terrorism in them, and the other state is Pakistan, which has, we all know, state-sponsored terrorism. It's not just terrorism, state-sponsored terrorism means the state is also involved over there, and in the other country, Afghanistan, the state itself is terrorist, all right. But however, now they have formed a government, so that is why India kept silent, did not take action, but other countries will move ahead. So we had to now connect with Taliban, right? Plus the border security mistrust. Both the countries cannot be trusted, they cannot trust each other, so that is also there. Now there is China's strategic influence in Afghanistan. Of course, China's influence is there everywhere. Even in USA there is China's influence, there's no doubt about it. So here also they have a strategic influence. So why they want peace, or why not peace as such, that would be a wrong statement. China wants more control. In that way they can keep peace, they can make chaos, whatever they want to do, they can do that. Why I'm saying chaos? At times China would want chaos to be present in states which border India, right? To pull down India. So we just can't trust Chinese, of course. So to ensure regional stability for their Belt and Road projects, they want the control over here, is what we can say. Also to prevent Uyghur militancy from gaining ground in Afghanistan. So Uyghur Muslims are there. Now Uyghurs are also having some militancy, terror outfits that are there, so to have a control over them and so that they do not form gaining ground in Afghanistan. That's why China should be involved in Afghanistan. That is another of their strategic importance, as well as secure investments in mining, energy and connectivity. Afghanistan is rich in all these things, so that will also commercially help China. Now, when it comes to India's engagement strategy with Afghanistan, our major thing or major focus, influence have been the humanitarian focus plus quiet diplomacy. Especially humanitarian, we have always helped them out. We have always helped a lot of countries out in terms of need through humanitarian measures. That is what we have done with Afghanistan. That is what we will continue to do with Afghanistan. We are going to continue to do with Afghanistan and other countries. So now this allows Taliban considerable control in New Delhi, Mumbai and consular control in New Delhi, Mumbai and Hyderabad. Consular means the exchange, like the exchange of ambassador. So they will have consulars in New Delhi, Mumbai and Hyderabad, so that there is effective communication. The major topics in recent talks were the Chabahar port, trade and education and development assistance to Afghanistan from India. Right. not necessarily directly in terms of money, but also creating infrastructure projects at cheap cost, and so on and so forth. Now, if you look at the geostrategic implication of this particular thing altogether, what does India want? India basically seeks to counter Pakistan and China's strategic depth, right? We cannot trust them, so we have to be involved over here. China, on the other hand, wants to consolidate its foothold in Afghanistan via diplomacy plus economy. China is economically too powerful, so it has huge amount of money to invest everywhere. We rely, of course we also do invest money, but we rely more on the rightly invested money with the right intentions along with humanitarian measures. As far as Pakistan, it aims to reassert influence despite the Taliban's unpredictability. Their relations are also sour. It wants to reassure its influence. So what does it mean for the regional stability in this region? What happens is, if there is a power vacuum, no government of any form is present, it may lead to more space for more terror groups. So the idea here is at least one consolidated centralized terror group is reigning over here, so that some power is available. If this also is ousted, multiple terror groups will start. So it's basically you choose your evil is the case over here. Now India, what does India needs to do? It needs to balance its engagement without legitimizing Taliban too soon. We should not legitimize, that means we should not directly accept Taliban as the legitimate government, even though we have to be in talking terms with them so that we can keep an eye and be involved in the developments that are happening. We should secure the interest in Central Asia, Chabahar Port, Northeast, Iran, Afghanistan routes. That is quite important. At the same time, China's broker role may be short term. Okay, it may help in the short term, but long-term leverage India can have. You know, China, what it does is has a very authoritarian approach, gives a huge amount of money, but then the debt is too high and then tries to occupy that country's territory. All those things we have seen. With respect to Sri Lanka also, Sri Lankan ports also, in the short term there might be relief, but India can be there for the long term. So on a long term basis, India is, of course, can be a real friend for everyone. However, what we need to ensure is that we do not legitimize Taliban too soon, even though we are in talks with them. Thank you.